Tonight, we will be turning left and right. Concord, North Carolina, home to the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and this won't be your typical Charlotte race. Tonight, the talented drivers in the Northwest Truck Series will be tested on physical and mental abilities on the 2.28-mile, 17-turn Roval. Hello and welcome, race fans, to LSR TV. Charles Wooten behind the cameras as executive producer tonight. My co-commentator Greg Rentz and myself, Brandon Kreutz, going to be calling the action. And Greg, it's going to be another exciting battle here on the Roval, as it always is.
Oh, absolutely, Brandon. This has been one of the most entertaining facilities that has been added to any tour since this Roval really came into prominence back in the 2018 NASCAR Cup Series season when they made their inaugural trip around the Roval with Ryan Blaney taking the win. We were here on Monday with the Northwest Cup Series, and what an incredible show it was. 55 laps of distance that night, 55 laps of distance tonight, and a familiar face up near the top of the charts. Jeff Stabnow was fastest in practice on Monday, set the pole, won the race on Monday night. He's second in practice right now, so a lot of eyes back on that 24 truck tonight to really try to give it a run for a sweep here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, some guys to look out for that we saw were fast up at the top of the practice charts. It was Casey Tillman up at the top of the board in the practice with a 1 minute 21.375. Jeff Stabnow following closely behind him, as well as West Family Racing, Dan West Jr. and Devin West, as Timothy Ricketts Jr. also back there within the top five. Sean Brightsman, another one to look out for back here, as well as a couple others up towards the top as well. And I do expect to see a couple of unfamiliar faces up toward the top of the charts here tonight as far as the racing action goes, only because this is a whole new set of challenges. Of course, this is a road course race, but it does throw in a couple of curveballs like the high banked portion of this racetrack up on the NASCAR Roval.
Yeah, it's very tricky transitions when we get into those locations where you go from the road course to the NASCAR Oval, especially the one that goes into NASCAR Turn 1, as it's called, when you come out of the swooping left-hander onto the high banking. It's such a difficult transition there that it actually throws several drivers off trying to get it settled down, and we saw that be quite the problem in the Cup Series race on Monday. And that's just one of several locations on this track, Brandon, that can prove to be a problem if you aren't paying attention. And we saw quite a few incidents throughout the course of the race on Monday. I'm expecting more of the same here tonight, but fortunately, most of these drivers were in the field on Monday. Hopefully they learn from their mistakes and are ready to go. And I can tell you one guy who seems to have learned is Casey Tillman, being on top of the charts after his race went, well, not the way he would have wanted on Monday.
Yeah, a couple of points on the track to look out for. A couple of the really heavy braking zones back here, including the backstretch chicane and even the front stretch chicane coming out of NASCAR Turn 4. It's going to be one of the really heavy braking zones coming in off the bank. They're going to be coming in hot, and as well as heading down into NASCAR Turn 1. Is going to be a tighter corner, so these guys going to have to watch stacking up here, especially off of the initial start. And we shouldn't have any cautions, and Charles, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we shouldn't have any cautions, and I don't think there's any stage break tonight. So these guys going out onto the racing surface now. Qualifying is open. And we're going to wait about a couple of minutes or so as these guys get wound up to speed. And we'll see the qualifying times rolling in here for the first time of the night.
Yeah, a couple trucks taking to the track, including our fastest driver in practice, Casey Tillman, in the number 92, representing the Northwest Racing Boys back out. He's the only one of that new team in the field tonight. But that team, in just a couple of starts in the Northwest Series, both Cup and Truck, is really been putting a stranglehold, not so much a stranglehold, but has really put a statement out there that saying, hey, we're new to the fold, but we know what we're doing. They got a podium with Dylan Huffines on Monday night, and they got fast time right now with Casey Tillman, who's on the track right now going through the backstretch chicane. And Brandon, you mentioned the chicanes would be difficult. The one that proved to be the most difficult of the two on Monday was the one that Tillman's coming up to right now, the front stretch chicane. Coming off a NASCAR turn 4 right here, you got to get it slowed down. And if you carry too much speed into this right-hander right here, it will screw your day up in that left-hander. And it was actually that moment right there that we saw the winning move on Monday. Sean Brightsman leading the way in the Cup Series had 2 separate incidents in the front stretch chicane, identical spots, about 3-4 laps apart, cost him the win. He still wound up with the top 5, but that front stretch chicane seemed to really be the main trouble spot here at the Roval on Monday.
Yeah, you see Casey Tillman going down that little bit of runoff area. Those drivers going to be using every inch of that pavement down there through the first section of the infield, and a little bit of elevation change can really upset these cars for this portion of the track. And now up onto the high banked oval section here, the NASCAR Roval, as these guys will really start to pick up speed. And as they head down the back straightaway, Tillman comes out of turn 4, heads down the back straightaway. He'll have to start braking right here for the heavy entry into the backstretch chicane. You got to watch out for those blue curbs, the turtles as they call them. And as you hit those things too hard, it can really bite you and destroy one of these race trucks.
And we saw that on Monday as well with both members of West Family Racing. As a matter of fact, both Dan West Jr. and Devin West caught the turtles in the backstretch chicane, and they were able to recover. Devin actually wound up finishing second on Monday night in the Cup Series, but Dan West Jr., who we talked about him a little bit on Monday as being one of the most dominant drivers in the series, as he has led in just about every race this season, has a win in the Truck Series already this year, but has not been able to finish the races as much as he would have liked to coming into this season, and had a great run going on Monday, but something just happened with his car after he hit the turtle and it messed up the suspension on it. So definitely not what he wanted last night. He's looking for some redemption on the Roval here with the Truck Series on Thursday, as he is coming through NASCAR Turn 1 right now in the number 55 LSR TV Chevy. Brandon, you mentioned the chicanes being a difficult spot. Any other spots on this racetrack that you think there would be some issues for these drivers?
Well, any of the heavy braking zones for sure, Greg, and you know, that does include both of these chicanes. They're designed to slow these trucks down, either coming out of the high banks or going into the high banks, only because with a road course setup, it's going to be really difficult for these trucks and these tires to handle the high NASCAR banks, especially when you have to have it even set up on both sides of the vehicle. Some other trouble areas, I expect the first portion of the infields, that little bit of elevation change there that we currently see Devin West going over, and right here down into turn 3, that a little bit of runoff of the asphalt there. You get the back tire up into the grass area, and it can really play at trouble spots here as we pull up the track map. See a really good layout of this racetrack is, you know, you can see all the tighter bends, and especially for the chicanes, the high speed areas, and even the NASCAR banks. You know, one of these guys pushes up the racetrack just a little bit if they're running side by side with the NASCAR Roval. That can put somebody up onto the outside safer barrier and end somebody's night.
Yeah, that's something we talked about earlier, the transition from technical road course racing to the high banks of NASCAR. Wow, Devin West really caught the turtle going into the backstretch chicane there in the 16th truck. So that's one of the things we talked about, the difficulty of the transitions onto the banking of the NASCAR turns as opposed to the road course turns. Oh, Devin West carrying a little too much speed into the front stretch chicane, and it could cost him. No, he hangs onto it through the front stretch chicane there, but he had to check up because he was carrying a lot of speed into the chicane. Doesn't slow him down on the speed charts at all, though. He goes second quick right now behind Casey Tillman in the 16. So good lap, though, for the 92 of Tillman. fastest in practice and fastest on qualifying so far with a little bit of time left remaining, Brandon. So Tillman, a pole in the Cup Series already and looking for his first in the Truck Series tonight.
Yeah, so these guys got a little ways to go here. Everybody trying to finish up their laps and just trying to get a clean one in the books, as I thought Dan West Jr. was going to wreck the truck coming onto the banks there, as he almost caught a good glance at the safer barrier. And that was a perfect camera angle right there as he heads onto the high speed. Right on the NASCAR banks, those trucks lean so hard on that right front tire, and you know, potential uneven tire wear is something that we could maybe see just on that right front, and something that these guys are really going to have to watch out for tonight. I don't see it playing too much of an effect, but you know, it is a possibility. Tire wear is something that I am a little bit concerned about tonight with how hard these guys are going to be pushing all throughout this race. However, I don't think it'll lead anybody into some serious trouble, because I'm guessing for a one-stop pit cycle here, so 2 different stints, and I do think that these guys are going to be able to split this race in half. So that'll lead to some pretty equal stints and some shorter stints to where these guys won't really have to worry about blowing any tires or anything.
Yeah, we saw a split bag as far as pit strategy went on the Cup race on Monday. The winning strategy was that 2-tire stop, or the one-stop strategy, I should say. That was won by Jeff Stabnow, who is on the track right now, going through the middle of the infield right now. And Brandon, you mentioned that this whole area was difficult. This area that Stabnow's in right here, this turn for me is the most difficult on this racetrack. It's a very difficult swooping right-hander that kind of comes up over the hill, and if you misjudge your speed there, you can be off in the grass before you know it. Stabnow did a great job getting through it there, and Jeff Stabnow set the pole on Monday, looking to back it up here on Thursday and sweep the week. What a job he did on Monday. Played that strategy card to a T on the halfway break, had a perfect first half of the race, had some incidents the second half of the race, but was able to keep it clean and was able to hold on for a victory over Devin West. So no doubt Stabnow is going to be looking for win number 2 on the week for him here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and trying to see what kind of a time he can put up onto the board. And he goes top of the charts. That's going to be quick time so far. 1:21, 4:09. A big wiggle down there off of turn 2, I do believe that was. And he's going to go ahead and park it after that lap. So 1:21, 4:09, top of the charts for Jeff Stabnow. Casey Tillman right behind him, 1:21, 6:90. And Devin West going to be rounding out the top 3 so far on the top of the charts, 1:21, 8:49. So these guys pretty well spread apart as far as lap times go, a couple of tenths each within the top 3.
Qualifying wrapping up here in about a minute per series director Sean Breitzman, who sits 4th on the charts, like you mentioned. And Brandon, he had such a strong run going, trying to make that one-stop strategy work. Or on Monday night in the Cup Series, led for quite some time and looked like he had a shot at sealing the deal. Unfortunately, 2 incidents 3 laps apart in the front stretch chicane ended his chances of a win, but he still was able to limp his modified, as we called it on the broadcast, to a 4th place finish in the Cup Series on Monday. And just so happens that's where he is sitting on the charts right now with just a couple of moments left in practice. Doesn't look like a whole lot more action on track right now going through. Don't see anyone else on track that has not yet got a time. So looks to me like everyone else is going to just stand pat and say, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and sit where I am right now. And as soon as qualifying wraps up here in just a couple of seconds, it'll be time to grid.
So these guys just waiting for qualifying to wrap up here. It's another couple of moments, and these guys will be all set to go as qualifying now wraps up, and we'll bring you your LSR TV starting lineup. And starting on that pole position, Greg, it's going to be that 24 machine of Jeff Stabnow. He's going to be your inside front row. Casey Tillman going to be starting right next to him. Devin West starting at third in that 16 machine. 46 of Sean Brightsman going to be right next to him in that fourth position. Timothy Ricketts Jr. going to be starting fifth, and Dan West Jr. back there in that sixth position. 7th spot's going to go to Chris Wright. Bill Ross Jr. going to be in that 8th spot. Tyler King starting 9th. And Ryan Maines going to be rounding out your top 10. Stephen O'Hare starting 11th. James Vining in that 12th position. Stephen Paulison going to be starting in 13th. John Ottenbacher in 14th. Carl Burke in that 15th position. Roy Grande going to be starting in that 16th spot. Steve Jennings in 17th. 18th is going to be David Kilmer. Ray Forner, wow, this name is throwing me for a loop for no reason. Forner going to be starting in that 19th position. David Kaufman going to be starting in 23rd. Wow, timing messed me up. Corey Walter starting 20th. 21st going to be Dana Rogers. 22nd is going to be Frank Karras. And rounding out the 23rd and final starting position in the field is going to be David Kaufman in that 23rd position. Timing a little mismatched for me there at the ending, so throwing me for a little bit of a loop and trying to keep me on my toes, I guess, Greg, as it always does, and technology can never cooperate with me for a broadcast, it seems, on a nightly basis.
So we hope that that's all that happens tonight. But Brandon, it looks to me like we're going to have possibly a little bit of a surprise that the fans who tuned in on Monday might remember. Looking like we're going to have ourselves a standing start here at the Roval tonight. We saw it on Monday night in the Cup Series, and it looks to me, Brandon, like we're about to see it once again.
Well, this will be interesting.
There it is. We're green. Stabnow gets it going, but look at Casey Tillman getting the huge run there off the outside line and gets out to the lead. Casey Tillman looking for some redemption here at the Roval, and he is out to a big lead early through the Tums Hartburn turn. Coming down towards turn number 3, side by side for second between pole sitter Jeff Stabnow and Devin West.
Well, standing start is probably the most interesting thing that I've seen in a NASCAR-esque event, and I do believe that 92 machine's going to end up with a stop-and-go penalty. Casey Tillman, he rolled a little bit before the green flag dropped, and that's not going to play over well for him.
Yeah, that'll be a stop-and-go penalty for the 92 of Tillman, and that is unfortunate for him because that's going to put him all the way at the back. But Devin West has gone around in the middle of the track, and he has fallen near the back as well. So a couple of our drivers who started up at the front having some issues here in the early going. When the stop-and-go penalty is assessed to Tillman, most likely this time around, believe this will cycle Jeff Stabnow back to the lead. And Brandon, look who's already up behind him. Dan West Jr. started 6th. He'll be in 2nd once this is all settled down.
Yeah, absolutely, and a good start for him back there. So, and look out, Jeff Stabnow missing the chicane, and he's going to lose positions as he's got a little bit of a slowdown penalty, and around him goes Dan West Jr.
And just like that, Dan West Jr. started 6th up to the lead. And Brandon, we talked about that front stretch chicane being difficult, and there you see it. Jeff Stabnow had a near perfect race on Monday. It was coming around the lead lap number 1, and before you knew it, into the chicane he went, and just like that, Dan West Jr. up to the lead here as he comes through that very difficult right-hander that I talked about, turn 6, down into this left-hander before they come down towards NASCAR turn 1 right here through that final left-hander onto the NASCAR banking. Look at the driver in 3rd, Timothy Ricketts Jr., having a very solid start to this one in the 43 truck. He is sitting in the 3rd position after a top 5 qualifying effort. That's the best of the season for Ricketts. First time he has qualified in the top 5 all season long. He's got Brightsman behind him. Good start here for the 43, and he's going to get a move on 2nd as Stabnow caught the turtle on the backstretch chicane. Boy, Jeff Stabnow, winner on Monday. not having a good start to the race here today.
No, not at all, Greg, and already a chaotic start to this event for several of these drivers, and we do apologize. We are having some technical issues with the scoring bar, so we are working on that. We're trying to get it up so that way the race fans can see the positions as soon as possible. It is being worked on. But around goes the 24 of Stabnow, hard into the concrete. He's going to be able to wind it up and keep it going. But that is not good news for the 24 and your pole sitter of this event, and Monday night's winner already in trouble, some serious trouble for the 24 team.
He mentioned on Monday that road course racing was not his thing, and we thought, based on his performance on Monday, that he was yanking our chain. But boy, sure seems like whatever bugs he was worried about on Monday have definitely found their way back into the number 24 Chevy here tonight, as he is having a rough go of it so far.
And that he is, and he's already quite a ways back onto the scoring chart, so dropping positions like a rock. And of course, on the high-speed parts of this racetrack, that front-end damage is not going to help him at all. So chaos already forming through your top three. Timothy Ricketts does take over that second position. Dan West Jr. still out in third. Sean Braitzman up there in that third position. And Jeff Stabnow all the way back to fourth.
And Spritzman is going to move into the second spot because Timothy Ricketts caught the turtle on the exit of the backstretch chicane, which caused him to slow down and allow Sean Braitzman to get the move in the second. But already 4.5 seconds between Braitzman and West Jr., the race leader right now. Dan West Jr. is on a roll so far here in this one.
And that he is, and just trying to make something happen for him as we do. Looks like we got the sidebar back up and running, so everybody can see that's live scoring and where everybody is positioned. So yeah, Dan West Jr. out in front of this thing by quite a margin so far, and the field is pretty spread out already on lap 4 of the 55-lap event.
Checking in with our driver who started on the outside front row and had the lead on the initial start before it was determined that he jumped the start. Casey Tillman settled back into the 21st position, has already gotten one spot as he got around Dana Rogers. He's 45 seconds out of the lead right now, trying to track down I believe the 215 of David Kilner is the next truck to be in line for Tillman. And around he goes in front of Tillman. Tillman does a nice job getting through there, but that'll be another spot for Casey Tillman, move him back up into the 19th position. So Tillman back up 2 spots already. He's trying to track down another guy who was right there with him at the start. Actually, it seems he has gotten past Devin West in the 16, so Devin West may have had another issue that we've missed in the 16 as Tillman has gotten around him as well.
Yeah, Tillman trying to get his way up through the fields and has a long ways to go, and I do feel like that penalty put him well out of contention for this race win. So the gap back to the race leader is already over 45 seconds, and it's not going to be likely for him to make that up with the pace that Dan West Jr. is going, as well as most of the other leaders.
Don't forget, though, anything can happen here at this facility, and we saw it on Monday. Could see it once again. Dan West Jr. coming down the backstretch right now into the very tricky backstretch chicane, which is a pretty good passing zone if you can time it correctly, as he makes it through relatively unscathed that time through. West Jr. continues to lead the way. Sean Braitzman 5.8 seconds back last time across the line in second, looking for some redemption. Jeff Stabnow still out there in the 4th position right now, but a lot of damage to the front of the Walls Beard Co. Chevy. So Stabnow right now maybe just be trying to hold on until he can come to pit road and get some of that damage worked on, as he's closing in on Timothy Ricketts for the 3rd spot, but they are losing more and more ground to the race leader.
Yeah, Timothy Ricketts is now falling back to that 3rd position back there to Sean Braitzman, and Braitzman trying to hunt down your race leader, but well over 5 seconds back already, and that gap is starting to see itself as increasing. So Dan West Jr. as of so far pulling away from your race, or your second placement rather, and as your race leader, pulling a pretty large margin gap of the rest of the field. Everybody else is singled out, and there is no major battles going on out on the racetrack.
So while these drivers are settling down, Brandon, what's something that you would be doing if you are in the driver's seat right now? We're settling things down. We're 6 laps in now. As soon as Dan West Jr. crosses the strike, we'll be starting lap number 7. And after an interesting start with a couple of our top drivers being sent to the back for various reasons, whether it's a penalty or a couple of incidents on track, if you're in the driver's seat and things are settling down now, what is your strategy? You just kind of riding it out for the time being and trying to focus on not making mistakes, or are you trying to go and see how much ground you can gain on your competition?
Well, if I'm in the position where I've got nobody around me, I'm going to be backing my corners up a little bit. So maybe braking just a little bit earlier to try to avoid incident. You don't want to push the truck harder than it has to go, you know, especially with how slick these tires are going to get. Everything's going to slick off. The truck's going to get real squirrely on you later into these runs. So you want to try to, you know, hold back a little bit. You don't want to give it 110% this whole race. So backing your corners up a little bit, and the other thing is just getting into a rhythm. And you know, you want to get into that rhythm. You want to get a consistent lap going, lap after lap, and just kind of mentally focus yourself on driving that race truck the way it needs to be driven to get yourself to the end of this race. As we see a pretty close battle going on back there, further back into the pack, and that's going to be between the 44 and the 83 machine.
And Tyler King and Chris White both get around the 333 of James Vining, who lost a couple of spots there as he was being scored in the 6th position before that. That will move him back to the 9th position once it's all said and done, as Paulison, King, and White all get around him. Not sure what happened there with the 333, but a good battle going on between Tyler King and Chris White. And Tyler King's another one of those guys who's looking for some redemption after the race on Monday. He had a solid run going, but got caught up in one of those incidents around the midway point of the race. Having a solid run right now, will be in the 7th position as he crosses the strike here, trying to track down Paulson and hold off Chris White.
Yeah, so this is a battle up within the latter half of the top 10, and Stephen Paulison's going to have company behind his race machine real quick. The 58 machine's going to have a mirror full of Tyler King and Chris White back behind him real soon. So trying to kind of gain any ground that he can, and of course it is a game of patience. So all of these drivers just have to, like I said, get into that rhythm. If you have to, back up your corners just a little bit, try to prevent any sort of mistake, and you can't let the pressure, even in a battle up here within the latter half of the top 10, even up within the top 5, you can't let the pressure from the driver behind you get to you.
And you also got to keep in mind pit road strategy will come into play sooner or later here. Brandon, the pit road window opened up on the Cup Series side around lap 18, which is about 10 laps from now. Do you expect more of the same from the trucks, or when do you expect the pit road to open, as Tyler King got loose there in the chicane and Chris White was able to get around him, so move White up to the 7th spot?
So all of these drivers are just trying to battle their own race. And one thing I did notice is Sean Breitzman did close in a little bit that last time around on your race leader. So something that we're going to have to watch out for, Greg, is these lap times between 1st and 2nd place. 5 seconds on a road course isn't a huge margin. It is a pretty significant gap nevertheless, but it is something that you can make up in a hurry if Dan West were to make a significant mistake.
So Breitzman right now kind of just settling things down, 5 seconds behind Dan West Jr. right now as West comes up on the backstretch chicane. Breitzman just now coming down from NASCAR turn 2, coming up on the chicane right now. And remember, West Jr. caught the chicane a couple of times in the Cup race on Monday, so Breitzman no doubt hoping for that. Quick update, James Vining, we mentioned he was having some issues with the 333, is our first driver to retire from the race, as he has pulled the 333 behind the wall. And a quick update on Casey Tillman. He is back up into the top 15 right now, sitting in 15th spot. And Brandon, he is running quicker lap times than the race leader, Dan West Jr. The margin has gone from about 49 seconds. It has shrunk back down to about 43 seconds here in the time that Tillman has been out there. So Casey Tillman has really done a good job negotiating through traffic, getting himself back up into the top 15. Gonna need a little bit extra help, but Tillman definitely showing that he has the speed to get himself back up into the mix if he can get some luck going his way also.
Yeah, I think at this point, all he's really fighting for is possibly a top 10 finish, and I really don't think at this point he's going to even be able to get up within the top 5. And now I have been proven wrong before, but he's got a ton of ground to make up and not much time to get there.
Yeah, he's only going to have 45 more laps to go. It is doable, as anything can and will happen on a track such as this, but he's coming up now on some more trucks in his path as he is now beginning to fill the mirror of Roy Grande in the number 51 truck for the 14th position. Steve Jennings in front of them in 13th. So Casey Tillman, I wondered though if with the stop and go penalty throwing him off sequence a little bit and having to make his way work through, I wonder how he will play the strategy game, if he will choose to pit before Dan West Jr. or after Dan West Jr. to try to make up even more time either way, or we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So these guys, I think, just waiting for the halfway point to make pit stops, and it still is a little ways away. But, you know, what kind of strategy do you think these guys might be able to pull here tonight, Greg? I think majority of these guys going to pit right at the halfway point and call it a night, but you know, could we try to see these guys push it all the way on fuel, which is only about 30 laps, so a couple extra laps more, but do you think these guys maybe going to try to short pit, get the advantage on tires, or try to use up fuel all the way, as we just saw Casey Tillman clobber that concrete there, and he's going to lose even more time.
He had just gotten the 13th position and is going back to work for that position, so whatever damage is on the 92 not affecting him. But to answer your question, Brandon, I'm not sure what these drivers would be thinking on strategy. We saw the one-stop strategy work on Monday, so I'm wondering how many drivers are going to take that and apply it to tonight. And it sounds to me like we can expect them right around the halfway point, like you said, maybe a little bit later than that per se, around the lap 30 margin, and we'll see how it unfolds from there. It's all a matter of discretion and when you think is your best opportunity to make a move for pit road to see how much ground you can gain. Casey Tillman, of course, has been gaining quite a bit of ground lately, but that hit to the wall through turn 1 the last time through has just cost him a bit of time, as well as Dan West Jr. continues to run a pretty clean race up front.
Yeah, and pulling away from Sean Brightsman once again. That margin of gap is already up to over 6 seconds now. So Dan West Jr., again, consistency is key. And he's doing exactly what he has to do to hold this race lead at this point. And I want to check back in again with Jeff Stabnow. He's all the way back there into that 3rd position and still got heavy front end damage on the front side of that race truck. About 16 and a half, almost 17 seconds back from your race leader at this point. And I think lost a lot of speed. He's got enough to stay within a podium position, but the speed is definitely down for that 24 team.
That's a product of all the damage on the front of the 24s. He struggled in the chicane there that time by, and that allows Timothy Ricketts to get up and gain some more ground on him to try to get 3rd spot back. And Jeff Stabnow, that's a tough break for him because he had such a good run on Monday, getting the win in the Cup Series for win number 2 on the season in that particular division. Looking forward tonight, was off to an identical start, getting the pole, and was coming around to lead the first lap, skipped the front stretch chicane, lost the lead to Dan West Jr., and the following turn spun around and went nose first into the wall, trying to recover, and now 17 seconds behind race leader Dan West Jr. and Sean Brightsman up there as well. So not the day Jeff Stabnow wanted. He's trying to salvage as much as he can in that number 24 and is doing a pretty good job of that, running in the 3rd position. However, it's going to take quite a bit more than just what he's able to do right now to be able to get himself back up in the mix for the win.
Yeah, and I think, I think Sean Brightsman has really got the best shot at this race win as things hold out right now. This is really Dan West Jr.'s race to lose at this point. He's up front, he's got to hold a clean race, and he's just got to stay consistent all night long. Any minor error, Sean Brightsman could be right there. As the gap takes one little loop around for that 55 machine, one little spin, or one off track to have that 46 machine right up on his rear bumper cover once again. But of course, now 8 seconds back, Sean Brightsman had a pretty major mistake back there, and we see a little bit of tail end damage on that 46 machine. Maybe tagged the concrete just a little bit.
Yeah, noticing the damage on the right rear of the 46, 8 seconds back of Dan West Jr. And woo, he got big loose there off of, I believe that was turn number 4. Into this other right-hander here, and you see him carrying a lot of speed through these right-handers. So Brightsman, he's giving it all he's got, but that damage on the right rear of the 46 is definitely affecting the arrows. You see him slipping and sliding all over the place here. Like you mentioned, we're only about halfway through this run on tires before these drivers begin thinking about pitting. Something else we should probably begin to factor in, he's about 12 seconds back of it still, but pretty soon, Dan West Jr. is going to start encountering lap traffic before too long. At the last time by, the first truck in his path was about 11 seconds ahead of him, and that will be the 11 of Frank Harris. We'll see what the margin is this time around between West Jr. and Frank Harris. So that is going to start creeping up into the picture here before too long, as Dan West Jr. continues to pull away from Brightsman and begins to close more on the 11 of Harris to begin taking off lap traffic. Brightsman was able to gain a little bit that time, but that 46 is all kinds of squirrely right now.
Yeah, Brightsman. And one thing I'm noticing about Brightsman is he's so loose there on corner entry. As we are looking at the 13 machine, Ryan Maines on screen, trying to catch up to the truck in front of him. I do believe that the truck in front of him is a lap vehicle. The next truck ahead of him in position is going to end up being Casey Tillman in the 92 machine. So Tillman trying to make his way up through the field even still. And the next truck ahead of Tillman is going to be that 41 machine, Stephen O'Hare.
Tillman is up to the 11th position and trying to get 10th right now. So the damage to the 92 is not really affecting him as far as his march back to the front. The gap is staying around the 44-45 second gap between himself and the race leader, Dan West Jr. So him and West Jr. are still running identical lap times here in this race, despite the damage to Casey Tillman. And you can see he's just wheeling it all over the place, trying to gain as much ground as he can, going to work on O'Hare, the Texas winner in the Truck Series, remember, as O'Hare does have a victory in the Northwest Truck Series this season that came at Texas, like we just mentioned. But Tillman having a great run right now, and he's really doing a good job of maintaining the gap between himself and Dan West Jr. at the 45-second bracket for the time being, as West Jr. begins to close in once again on some more lap traffic. Believe that this is the 215 of David Kilmer, who is already 1 lap down. That will be next up for Dan West Jr. He will be 2 laps down once the 55 gets through.
And one point I'd like to apologize on for O'Hare's name. I believe it's Stephen O'Hare. I think we were corrected on that 1 week. So, Stephen, I do apologize on that. So, one thing I did want to bring up, I do believe it is Stephen O'Hare, and he so kindly did correct us on that 1 week. It's been a couple of weeks since I've covered these guys, so it does slip from my mind, but wow.
Oh no, Sean Brightsman just blew the chicane. That 46 car is slipping and sliding everywhere. He went bowling coming through that alleyway onto NASCAR Turn 1, took out about 7 of the cones there in the way. Not quite a strike, leaving a little bit of them there for the spare pickup later, but coming through the chicane, he just flat blew it and had to come to a stop, and that's going to cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, it will, but Brightsman, he's going to be about 12.5 seconds back after that whole deal is done. So Dan West Jr., he's out front, just has to stay consistent. And that's going to be the key to the race. And honestly, this gives Jeff Stabnow just one more shot at maybe trying to gain another position as Lookout's car around in front of Brightsman. That's David Kilner. We'll go back on replay and see what happened to David, and Lookout, he came up wide and he hit the grass, and around that truck will go. And that was one of the issues that I was talking about pre-race, is you blow that little bit of runoff that they give you, is you already use every inch of it, and it doesn't take much to send one of these machines around. So Brightsman getting around that, no problem, and another tough break for the 215 machine.
So not the night that Kilmer won. I believe this is one of his first starts, possibly his first start of the year in the Northwest Truck Series. Not the night that he wanted to have for his start here tonight. Already 2 laps down and now having more difficulties with the 215. One truck still out of the race. That is James Vining in the 333. Ray Fournier and David Kaufman did not start this race. We had 21 trucks take the green flag tonight.
Yep, so all those guys doing the best they can to try to stay out on track, and so far all of our starters remain on track. All 21 race vehicles. I say that James Vining actually just took it behind the wall, so he'll be done for the night. So we got 20 trucks still out on track, and the first truck 1 lap down is going to be Dana Rogers back there in the 07 machine. So everybody doing the best they can, and the field quite spread out at the moment.
Brandon, Casey Tillman just gained another spot as he got around Tyler King. He is back up into the 8th position. He's 8 seconds back of the next truck in line, Chris White. But that number 92 truck is hooked up tonight, and he is showing it. And no doubt, if not for that jumping the start penalty, we would have been talking about that 92 car pulling away from the field the way it is hooked up right now. That number 92 is on rails tonight, back up to the 8th position after falling back to 20th after a pit road penalty.
Yeah, it is quite the gain, and huge props to Tillman after fighting after a stop and go penalty, fighting all the way back through traffic and up into that 8th position, and still has his eyes set. It's going to take some work. Has his eyes set at maybe possibly walking away with a top 5 in this race, as we see to pit stop starting. Jeff Stabnow coming out pit road. He's going to be one of the first trucks in.
Stabnow pulling in, and no doubt he's going to want as much damage to that 24 fixed as he can. I believe they do have a fast repair, so the 24 will be right back out there for it. We'll see here as he pulls into his pit stall, gets the fast repair, and goes to work on the 24. So a brand new truck for the 24 coming out here, Brandon. So we'll see how Stabnow is able to recover from this, as pit road window is open, and right around the same lap that we saw in the Cup Series. We're on lap 19 now. Stabnow pitting on lap 18. So same time as the Cup Series on Monday, pit road window opens.
Yep, so 30 laps as what I thought was going to be the distance, but I think Stabnow really cutting this cycle short. Lap 27 was what I was going to guess, so that's about the halfway point in this race. So 24 really short pitting it, and I think we won't see the leader in for another 7 or so laps.
And Brandon, one thing I noticed, Stabnow, I believe he only took 2 tires on this pit stop, as he was already back out through the infield before when I came back to check on him. So I believe Stabnow only took 2 tires there in an effort to try to keep as much time down on pit road as possible. Lost the spots, as I believe he's going to fall out of the top 10. I believe he'll be 12th once this is all said and done. He was very far out on the track, so I believe he already had been out for a while, taking 2 tires, dropping to the 12th spot, gets around Ottenbacher for a spot. coming up now on Tyler King. We'll see where he is at once this all shakes down. Remember, he opened the window, so everyone else still has to pit. And you mentioned that he does have his work cut out for him still, as now he may be in a 2-stop window for this one. Casey Tillman up to 6 now in the 92 as he was able to get around Stabnow with that pit stop. But Brandon, we still have a ways to go before you believe most of the field will be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And a close call there for the 24 machine of Stabnow, trying to navigate his way through some of the slower traffic. He's on fresh tires, but yeah, you know, I don't expect the field to be in for quite a few laps here. So short pitting was Jeff Stabnow, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the whole fuel scenario. You know, we're guessing probably about 30 laps in a tank of fuel, and that puts him just outside of the window. So maybe if he can save a little bit, but he's going to be cutting it real close there.
Asking for about 5 to 6 laps on a track like this is asking a lot, so it's going to be difficult for him to maintain that fuel mileage through the course of the race. Dan West Jr. up to a 9.2 second lead over Sean Brightsman. And West Jr.'s race tonight is mirroring what Stabnow's was on Monday. Clean, crisp out front, no mistakes so far for the 55. Looking for some redemption after a tough go on Monday. Still came away with the top 10, but having a good run in the 55, trying to get things settled back down. He's doing a great job of that.
Yeah, absolutely he is, and currently watching the 44 out onto the track so far, and he's got Bill Ross Jr. right behind him at this moment. And go back on replay and see what happened to the 44. Look at Ottenbacher come in, and that was a big contact down the backstretch chicane, and the 215 happened to come to a complete stop to avoid that. So tough break, and of course Ottenbacher had to face that slow down penalty out of the chicane as he blew that and came in a little hot. I'd say that 89 machine did.
Yeah, coming in hot and getting into the back of the 44, and he has significant damage to the left rear of that 44 as we're getting close to the pit window like you mentioned, and it's already open with Jeff Stabnow pulling in, but 44 are going to have to go the rest of this run with that damage on the left rear, and that could cost him quite a bit of time as Bill Ross Jr. makes a move to the inside in the 17. King able to get back settled down, but Bill Ross Jr. going to move up into the 9th position now as he gets around Tyler King. King coming back though, getting right up on the tailgate of Bill Ross Jr.
Yeah, right on the rear tailgates is a Tyler King in the 44, and well, that's going to settle out pretty quickly as the 44 did not get into the chicane quite as well as that 17 machine did. So these guys putting on some good little battles all around the racetrack now, and all of these drivers doing the best they can just to look at the big picture as far as the point standings go. Every position counts.
Yeah, every position is so important at this facility. And one guy who makes note of that is Casey Tillman in the 92. He is in the top 5. You mentioned that he might have a shot at the top 5. He's already up there. We're only 22 laps into this one, and he is closing on Dan West Jr. He has shaved 5 seconds off the margin. If Tillman can pull in before West Jr., he might be able to gain some more ground. But here's the catch to that. If Tillman waits till after West Jr. goes, he'll have more tires left than West. By the end of the run, he will have much more tread left on the tires. So kind of a cat and mouse game here. What would you do if you were Casey Tillman?
Yeah, and you know, I'm still not convinced that Tillman can get all the way up to the lead, and him and Dan West Jr., granted he is running a little bit faster of a lap time than West, but I just really don't think it's going to be enough at all. And you know, huge props to the 92 machine for getting his way back up into the top 5, but he was still 39.2 or so seconds back. So it's going to be really tough, and even for him to gain any more than I think he can get himself up into the podium by the end of this race, and that in itself is going to be a huge accomplishment, but it's going to be a tough battle for sure.
Getting himself back into the top 5 is already a huge accomplishment under green, no less. to get back from 25th under green at the Roval is a very impressive accomplishment. I'm with you though. I believe it's going to take something out of his control to help him get up to the front. That being something happening with the 55 of Dan West Jr. and problems developing on the 46 as well. Brightsman, I believe right now, if you're Tillman, you're just gunning to try to get up as high as you can. If it's third place, it's third place. You're just trying to get as high up as you can and try to get yourself in a position to capitalize if something were to happen to the 55 and the 46.
Something I'd also like to point out is how much quicker Jeff Stabnow is right now, and this could very well affect how the positions play out as soon as the pit cycle cycles through for the green flag stops, and this could put Jeff Stabnow in a very good position. He's already back up to the 6th position, 44 seconds back, and running a couple of seconds faster than your race leader per lap.
Remember, that's a product of the fresh tires. The problem with that is once these drivers that have not pitted yet do pit, they are going to be the ones on fresher tires. So Stabnow right now trying to gain as much ground as he can, but we're seeing it right here, the tire fall off, new tires compared to old tires. For example, right there, we said Dan West Jr. running a minute 25 second lap. He qualified at a minute 22, so already 3-second fall off between the qualifying time and the current time. So 3 seconds fall off on the 55 truck. Stabnow running on much fresher tires right now, doesn't have anywhere near that fall off right now. But when West Jr., Brightsman, and the rest of the field pit, that is going to be where the situation, I believe, will flip-flop. Quick check on another guy who started up front but had some issues develop. Devin West has climbed his way back up into the 13th position after a couple of spins in the early goings. Started 3rd, fell back to 19th. Devin West quietly working his way back up to the field, up into the 13th position.
See Casey Tillman on pit road now, and well, he came in just after he monster trucked it over the Turtles down the back straightaway, the NASCAR back straightaway that last time around. And he's going to come in, see if he can get some of that damage fixed, and now off and away is that 92 machine.
All right, let's see how Tillman can do now with the 4 fresh tires. Qualified 2nd, was fastest in practice, and was gaining lots of ground on the field, getting his way back up into the 5th position. We'll see where he falls out once it's all said and done, but Brandon, now the 92 has fresher tires, so for the time being, he's going to be the fastest truck on the racetrack with the fresh tires as the rest of the field staying out. Here comes Sean Brightsman to you, 2nd place, coming down on pit road. So Brightsman pitting from 2nd, Timothy Ricketts coming from 3rd, so it looks like the pit window has officially opened here on lap 26.
And just when I thought it would, I'd expect to see Dan West Jr. in here maybe this next time around. So Brightsman getting some 4 fresh feel goods and fuel, and he's going to be off and away here as the jack drops, and now awaiting that 55 machine to come down, and maybe this time by the next time he makes his way down onto the front straightaway.
And off of turn number 2 right now is the racer of Dan West Jr. coming to the backstretch chicane right there. Good job getting through there. Lap traffic lying ahead. I believe this is the 111 of Steve Jennings, the 14th position truck. We'll see if Dan West Jr. makes the left on the pit road or if he stays out. You have to imagine he's going to come here pretty soon. Yes, here he comes. Race leader Dan West Jr. pitting. So not a lot of ground going to be able to gain by Brightsman once it's all said and done. Steve Paulison is in the 2nd position at this moment. We'll see if he elects to pit. He is way back. He just now came off NASCAR turn 2, so he might not even make it back around before Dan West Jr. is back out onto the racetrack. It's going to be close as West Jr. just now pulled into his pit. Paulison going into NASCAR turn 3. We'll see if Paulison stays out or if he elects to pit. And we're keeping an eye on West Jr. to see if he can make it out there before Paulison even makes it around. Paulison is going to stay out, coming to the front stretch chicane right now. Dan West Jr. rolling on pit road, and it looks like he's going to beat the 58 out there. So Paulson staying out an extra lap. Then West, and West was so far ahead that he keeps the lead.
See how things cycle through here. Jeff Stabnow still back there in that 4th position, so really didn't gain too much time. And I know these guys on fresher tires, after about a lap's time, once they get all warmed up, are going to be pulling him back away from the 24. So Jeff Stabnow not having quite the night that he had on Monday, and just trying to make the best of everything that he can.
Stabnow trying to gain as much ground as he possibly could before the pit window opened, and I'm sure he was hoping that trucks would make it a little bit longer. More trucks on pit road right now. Stephen O'Hare, Tyler King, and others. King getting the damage repaired to the back of the 44 truck. O'Hare rolling now. O'Hare was in 9th when he came down pit road. King 2 spots behind him in 11th. O'Hare back out onto the racing surface with 4 fresh tires. So pit stops in full swing right now. 14 trucks on the lead lap once pit road started. The final of those, Steve Jennings, is on pit road now.
Yeah, so everybody's starting to cycle through. And of course, Dan West Jr. still holds the race lead after stops cycled around. Stephen Paulison back there holding strong into the 2nd position at this moment. And now he's on pit road. Brightsman will take that position back over. Brightsman, by the way, did gain a little bit of time. He's only 8.1 or so seconds back the last time across the stripe from your leader, Dan West.
And no doubt he's happy that he's got the 4 fresh tires on, because how loose was he there at the end of that run? Slipping and sliding all over the place. He went bowling. He hit the wall, hit just about a bunch of stuff. Well, I was going to say he hit just about everything, but no, not even close. But here he comes screaming through that turn there onto NASCAR turn number 1. Brightsman, no doubt, feels good with the truck being repaired and 4 fresh tires on, and now he can go back to work on trying to reel in Dan West Jr. Casey Tillman will move back up into, I believe, the 5th position once this is all said and done. As yes, he is ahead of Steve Paulison, who just came out. So Tillman back up in the 5th, trying to track down Chris White. Not too far back, I believe 10 seconds last time by, and with the speed that Tillman has shown, he's shown that he can get up there if needed, and he has cut into the lead of Dan West Jr. It's now 30 seconds between West Jr. and Tillman. So Tillman is closing, but again, I just don't think it's enough time for him to get up and contend for the win unless something happens to West Jr. and Brightsman.
Yeah, and, I'm kind of in the same boat there. So Tillman doing the best he can, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. He's fallen back to the 6th position, just outside of the top 5 again, and just over, around 10 seconds up to the next car ahead of him. So as I stand corrected now, my timing updated, and he's in the 4th position. So disregard everything that I just said.
He's in the 4th position and has about 10 laps extra on the tires than Stabnow, or correction, 10 laps less on the tires than Stabnow. So 14 seconds the margin right now between Tillman and Stabnow for the 3rd and final spot on the podium. And with fresher tires, Tillman is going to be eating away at the 24 of Stabnow. But with 25 laps left, 14 seconds, do you think that's enough time?
It's going to be real tough, but, Jeff Stabnow, he is up in the 3rd position. I don't think he has enough juice to get up to the lead, but he could walk away possibly with a podium finish at the very, well, obviously a podium finish. He could walk away with a 2nd place finish at the very most.
So Tillman trying to get back up there, and honestly, for him, this is a case of what could have been for the 92 truck, and he is showing that he had a lot of speed. And Northwest Racing Boys, that team, the new team, has really done a good job with the trucks. Remember, these trucks run open setup. These trucks are allowed to run whatever setup they choose, and the Northwest Racing Boys have really put a lot of time into the handling of their trucks, and it's showing here. Once again, Casey Tillman having an outstanding run representing the NWRB. Big slide, though.
Yeah, and, as the field is pretty much spread out and we have a chance between the racing action as far as battles go out onto the racetrack. We're going to step away for a quick side-by-side commercial break. Stay tuned. You're watching the Northwest Truck Series live at LSR TV. We'll be right back.
Based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything. Hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold, to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customers and stuff. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, T-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees@yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
Welcome back to LSR TV, and again, watching the Northwest Truck Series. Jeff Stabenow found himself into trouble and now coming down pit road. We look at the LSR TV replay, and he comes off that little bit of runoff area, and he cranks the truck into the corner, and it gets out from underneath them, and he makes heavy contact with it inside concrete. Second verse, same as the first. And he's going to be facing some serious trouble there. That puts Casey Tillman all the way up into that third position. So, interesting, some interesting stuff going on here. Again, Casey Tillman had a stop-and-go penalty at the beginning of this race. He stayed persistent. Now all the way up into a podium position is that 92 machine.
Yeah, Tillman having a great run. Another driver who's making his way back up after some early problems, Devin West, is up in 11th spot right now, trying to track down Tyler King for the top 10. West Family Racing, they're another team like I mentioned with the Northwest Racing Boys, the West family, Dan West Jr. and Devin West. Dan the father, Devin the son. They spend a lot of time in these trucks getting the setups exactly where they like it. They usually come to the track with two different setups, and usually one will run one will run the other in the truck series. Dan West Jr. seems to have most definitely picked the right one today, as he is on a rail on that 55 truck right now, continuing to lead the way. Brightsman hanging good, about 8 seconds back still of West Jr., maintaining the gap, not gaining, not losing, but hanging with Brightsman, and then it's a ways back still to Tillman, who was in some traffic, trying to get around the slower traffic, now going to work on Steve Jennings, who is a lap down. A couple of more drivers have retired from the race as well, Brandon. David Kilmer and Carl Burke have both retired from the race.
Yeah, so that'll leave just 18 cars out onto the racing surface at this moment. And all of these guys, again, just fighting for their own real estate, kind of fighting their own battle. And it does look like Jeff Stabenow may be done for the night as well after that whole incident took place.
So Jeff Stabenow was coming in with such high hopes, winning the race on Monday, set the pole here tonight, just right off of the get-go. From that moment he hit the chicane, the first lap, it's just been a snowball from there, and unfortunately it looks like Stabnow might be calling it a night as he still sits on pit road. He's already lost a lap to Dan West Jr. It sounds like Jeff Stabnow's night may be done.
So everybody pretty well spread out, and of course always going to be talking about that 92 machine tonight. He has got that truck on rails all the way up into that third position, and it is possible that he could gain seconds. And I'm going to stay pessimistic here, I guess. I think he's probably about set where he is, but he's already proven me wrong about 3 or 4 times tonight. So I could be wrong. You know, he could come away with that second position. Something could happen to your leader, and he could walk away with a win. You never know what's going to happen out here.
It'll be interesting to see how this race unfolds. And as a teammate to Casey Tillman, because I run with the Northwest Racing Boys in the Legend Series, I'm hopeful, but also keeping myself grounded, as watching him tear through the field has definitely been putting a smile on my face watching my teammate do well. But optimistic, but realistic that it's going to take more than him just tearing through the field to get up there. It's going to take some extra oomph getting up there in the form of an incident with Breitzman and West. And Breitzman, don't look now, he was able to shave a second off the last time around. So Sean Breitzman, the 46, may be getting the click.
Yeah, looking promising here as well. And these guys going to be taking 20 laps to go next time around at the stripe. So everybody doing the best they can to get themselves set up and situated for the end of this race, but still quite a ways to go here. As I said, 20 more laps around the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval.
Tillman just shaved another 2 seconds off the gap. It's now down to 25 seconds between Tillman and West Jr., the race leader, and a lot of clean racetrack in front of Casey Tillman. Just one lap truck in front of him. I believe it's the 111 of Jennings, perhaps. That is the truck filling, which you'll know. Scratch that. Trying to figure out which truck it is in front of Tillman, but he is putting on a clinic right now of getting through traffic. Dan West Jr., meanwhile, has lap traffic. He's contesting right now. It's the 89 of Ottenbacher, and he hit the turn a little bit harder than he would have liked to there going into turn number 1. He got a little bit more air than he would have liked to on the left front there.
Yeah, and gotta really watch out for those turtles, as they can really come out and bite you. Ottenbacher's been having a little bit of trouble here tonight with those things, overshooting the corners a couple of times, but Dan West Jr. was able to get around him no problems and navigating himself through the lap traffic with ease. Sean Breitzman shaving yet a little bit more time off there in that 46 machine, so he's going to be one truck to watch out for as we're focusing on a potential battle starting to heat up back there as well. That's going to be Bill Ross Jr. and Stephen Paulison.
So see how it unfolds. Paulson, remember, was up in the second spot, like we mentioned, in the 58 before pit road. Whoa, one truck slow. It's the 43 of Timothy Ricketts. He has damage on the right rear of the 43 truck. Was up in the 4th position. He just lost a couple of spots and fell to 6th. I believe he may have caught the wall in the Tom's Heartburn turn. Timothy Ricketts trying to get things going as he settles down now in the 6th position. He lost a lot of time there as he was about 6 seconds ahead of Bill Ross Jr. and Steve Paulison, but Ricketts now finds himself in 6th, so he lost quite a bit of ground there, Brandon.
And that he did, so catches the concrete there, pretty significant contact, and he's going to lose a little bit of time to the trucks behind him. It allows Bill Ross Jr. and Stephen Paulison to get right around that 43 machine, as we saw. So tough break for Timothy Ricketts Jr. as he's going to have to work to fight his way up into the top 5 again.
And with the heavy damage on the rear of the 43 truck, I'm not sure he'll be able to do it because Paulson and Ross have cleaner trucks than him, and Ricketts has a lot of damage on the right rear. We saw what right rear damage could do to the 46 of Brightsman earlier as he was slipping and sliding all over the place. Ricketts has already lost 2 spots and falling victim here as Chris White begins to fill the gap. But as I say that, Ricketts is gaining ground back up on Paulson and Ross.
And that he is, so we know that the machine has power underneath the hood, and he has the speed to get around here pretty quick, and he's starting to close in on these 2 trucks rapidly as we see them still battling right ahead of him, and he's going to have to try to make it 3 cars, or 3 trucks rather, under a blanket to fight for positions as those guys go side by side into the chicane in front of him and somehow making it work. One of those drivers, which was Bill Ross Jr., had to give the position, and those guys get a single out once again that allows the 43 to catch right up to the rear bumper cover of the 17.
Oh, and Ross slowing down. Looks like Bill Ross Jr. might be coming on the pit road here as well. Another truck in front of him, so it looks like we're starting to see that 2-stop strategy begin here. Bill Ross Jr., another truck in front of him, Roy Grande, so 2 stoppers here for the 17, 51, and others. So now we're starting to see that different strategy begin to come up.
Yeah, and absolutely we do. So all of these guys just trying to fight for their own real estate. Look out, 58, Stephen Paulson around. He's sideways in the middle of the racetrack. He makes contact with that concrete, and don't look now. Stephen O'Hare has to make evasive maneuvers. Can't quite get that truck out of reverse, and now he does, and away is that 58 machine again.
I think O'Hare needs a new fire suit after coming around that corner and seeing the 58 sitting right there, and you saw the evasive move that he had to take. Paulson was running in the 4th spot when it happened. Ooh, and he lost momentum through that right-hander there. This is going to allow Devin West to get up there. Don't look now. Devin West has moved into the 8th position, make it 7th now as he gets around the 58 of Paulson. So Devin West has crept his way back up into the picture.
So all of these guys just trying to fight. And one truck I want to bring up is Devin West. We see him there on screen now, and he just hasn't been having the day that he wanted. He's still up within the top 10. He's on the lead lap, the last car on the lead lap, I might add. But Devin West, the 16, just was showing potential for speed and just can't quite get around the Roval the way that he needs to.
Finished 2nd in the Cup race on Monday in the 16 and was hoping for a good run, but 2 incidents at the start of the race put a damper on those plans for West. And don't look now, look who's in the mirror of both him and the 58 of Paulson, his father, Dan West Jr., who has done nothing but lead every single lap of this race.
Yeah, so these guys, well, Dan West Jr. going to be putting his son a lap down here in a very short amount of time. So Devin West is Paulson back there. He's going to now be the last truck of the lead lap. He's going to have company from a 55 machine here very shortly.
Yeah, Dan West Jr. catching up to some more lap traffic. Just 8 trucks left on the lead lap, but a big slide out of West Jr. there going up on the NASCAR turn 1 as he comes through the field. 8 trucks on the lead lap, Brandon. What a performance by Dan West Jr. here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, going to be navigating through probably the heaviest amount of lap traffic that he's seen so far tonight. 2 trucks battling it out ahead of him, and Paulison's going to give him the room, and I'm sure Devin West is going to give him the room as well as those 2 teammates, the father-son duo.
Yeah, no doubt when he gets there, Devin will pull over and let his father go and not mess up his day anymore, as Devin has done a great job recovering to get up into the 7th spot after all of that. Brightsman not really gaining or losing at this point, staying steady in the low 7-second bracket between himself and Dan West Jr. Casey Tillman also seems to have mellowed out in the 24-second margin. So Tillman, he's still giving it all he's got in the 92, but has settled down as far as gap as he was able to gain 4/10 that time by, but with less than 15 laps to go, you're going to need to be going all out and hope for something at this point, because 23 seconds and 14 laps, that's asking way too much.
Yeah, absolutely it is. This race starting to wind down as we see Dan West Jr. ducking below the 16 machine now. He gets around him with ease, and Devin West going to give him all the room that he needs to get by as they storm down the NASCAR back straightaway.
So West Jr. into the chicane, gets around the son Devin, puts him a lap down. That will leave 6 trucks on the lead lap for Brandon. And the next one, Stephen O'Hare, is coming to the front stretch chicane right now. He is crossing the strike now, whereas Dan West Jr. is coming up on the front stretch chicane. So plenty of time still between O'Hare and West Jr., but the pace O'Hare or West is on, he might get him, and O'Hare might have to put it into the overdrive if he wants to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, so all of these drivers kind of struggling to stay in the lead lap now. Stephen O'Hare going to be the first truck on the lead lap up there in that 6th position, and Dan West Jr. going to be lapping as many trucks as he possibly can. And one thing I noticed about the 55, he's really not trying to carry all of this speed. He's just running his consistent line, and he's not making any mistakes, and that's proven to be huge so far tonight.
And he has run such a clean race all day long. Jeff Stabnow has officially called it a day. He is the 4th driver to take his truck behind the wall. Heartbreak for Monday night's Cup Series winner, but Dan West Jr. having a run that mirrors what Stabnow was able to do on Monday. Incredible drive for Dan West Jr. tonight.
Sean Brightsman back there, just 8 seconds back, also running pretty consistent lap times, not really falling off nor gaining from that 55 machine. So Brightsman doing a pretty good job up there in the 2nd position as well. And of course, Casey Tillman was the talk of the night as he got a stop and go penalty, and the 92 machine making his way all the way up to that 3rd position.
An incredible run by Tillman in the 92. He is still gaining ground little by little. It's just not quite enough at this point, unless something drastic were to happen to our top 2 there. Brightsman gets around Tyler King, who is a lap down in the 9th position. So clean racetrack once again ahead of Brightsman, as it's a ways back to the 3 trucks there. Paulson, Devin West, and another truck who I wasn't able to catch a number of as Dan West Jr. continues to pull away.
So these trucks starting to get pretty slippy, slidey, and squirrely all around this Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval as the lap's starting to wind down, and all of these drivers just trying to make it to the end of the race in one piece at this point, I do believe.
See how they're able to do it. Closing stages beginning to creep up here at the Charlotte Roval, and Dan West Jr. was looking for some redemption here tonight after a race on Monday. I would say he has done just that so far.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And 6 trucks on the lead lap at the very moment, and Dan West Jr. could be looking to put Stephen O'Hare 1 lap down, and not really anywhere near him as of this moment. But Dan West going down into turn 1, Stephen O'Hare making his way down out of turn 3. So it is pretty likely that 41 machine could have a mirror full of 55 here shortly.
We'll see how quick West is able to go, and you can see him out the windshield in some areas of the racetrack, so he is definitely closing, and he is pulling away from Sean Brightsman. Casey Tillman continues to close, but it's now down to 21 seconds. But West Jr., all he has to do is maintain a solid gap and just stay clean the rest of the way, and he'll be good. But there is quite a bit of lap traffic ahead of him, beginning with the 41 of O'Hare, but there's quite a bit more ahead of him as we begin to close in on it here, Brandon.
Yeah, these guys going to be coming around to take the 12 lap to go mark this next time by, as Dan West Jr. going to be putting on just a dominating performance. Or 11 laps to go this next time at the line. I do apologize. It's Dan West Jr. just putting on a dominating performance. Sean Brightsman now starting to fall off. He's about a second back the last time that we checked on him, or since the last time that we checked on him. So now 8.6 seconds going to be the gap between him and Dan West Jr. Casey Tillman still back there, almost 22 seconds back from your race leader.
Still ways to go for Tillman, but regardless, it has been an amazing performance out of Casey Tillman to get back up into the podium spot. Sean Brightsman having a very, very solid run in the second spot as well. Brightsman continuing to run very, very strong right now as he's beginning to come up on the lap traffic. Paulison beginning to fill his windshield as we bear down here in the final 10 laps of this one.
So, gonna be coming up on just 10 laps to go. The next time he crosses the stripe, making his way down the back straightaway is the 55 of Dan West Jr. And a dominating performance all night long. And of course, just has to stay consistent and without any error as he's done pretty much all night long so far.
Yeah, an outstanding performance by Dan West Jr. in the 55. Doing a very great job of maintaining the gap between Brightsman. Brightsman's able to close at some points, but right when we think he's beginning to close the gap, West Jr. pulls away. So he has done an outstanding job keeping ahead of Sean Brightsman here today, keeping that gap maintained in the 7 to 8 second bracket.
Yeah, absolutely, and just consistency is key with that. We talk about that all race long. So 55 of Dan West, of course, Sean Brightsman too. Brightsman found himself into trouble earlier in this race. He was able to rebound and back up to the second position, and he's doing a good job holding that consistent gap as well.
8.7 seconds the gap last time by. Brightsman was a 10th quicker. Going to take a lot of work and some luck for Brightsman to get back up there, but he has done a great job keeping the 46 truck clean, especially after the damage he suffered in the early stages of this race. The 46 of Brightsman has done a great job keeping himself in the second position after suffering that damage, and has done a great job keeping it clean the second half of the race here.
That he has, and as all of these guys put on a really good race thus far. And I do notice that Dan West Jr. is starting to close in on the soon-to-be lap vehicle of Stephen O'Hare. So Stephen's just running his own race, and I think pretty content on where he's running so far. And I noticed Timothy Ricketts Jr. not too far ahead as well, and I think he's going to either catch one or the other. I don't think he's going to be able to catch both of those guys, but of course, Dan West Jr. running some blazing fast lap times all night long.
Yeah, an outstanding run by West Jr. Bryce was able to shave a second off that last time by, but it's going to go right back out the window now because he's caught up to the back bumper of Paulison, and he's going to have to try to negotiate his way around him. Just 6 trucks left on the lead lap. It might be 5 before the end of this because Dan West Jr. is closing in on Stephen O'Hare. He can see him out the windshield now.
Yeah, that he can, and again, everybody's just kind of running their own race at this point. It's really no use fighting for positions. There's really nobody that's near anybody around the racetrack at this point that's fighting for any sort of serious position through the race. And of course, every position counts, but everybody's spread out and just running their own race. As Brightsman almost got a piece of the concrete there down out of the backstretch chicane. So close call for 46, and he's going to lose a little bit more time in there.
More struggles for the 46 of Brightsman. Seems like every time he's able to really gain some momentum and gain some ground on Dan West Jr., something happens and it puts him right back in the hole. He actually was able to shave a little bit more time off. He shaved another couple tenths off there, so despite that, was able to gain a couple of seconds. Ryan Maines disconnecting, so Ryan Maines will fall out of this one, but Man, oh man, what a run by Sean Reisman here, hanging with the 55 of Stabnow in sort, as it stayed 7.6 seconds now, shaved 2/10 off still, but still too much, I believe.
You mean the 55 of West, Dan West Jr. out front of this thing at the moment, and been a pretty long night here as far as broadcast goes, and I'm sure our voices are both pretty well worn out. Just a couple of laps to go. The next time across the stripe is going to be just 2 laps to go for your leader, Dan West Jr.
West Jr. pulling away right now. 7.6 the margin as he continues to make his way through.
So the 55 machine taking 2 laps to go that time around, and the rest of the field's going to follow suit. Dan West Jr. putting on such a dominating performance here tonight and looking to come home with a victory.
Great job by Dan West Jr. closing up on that 41 of O'Hare. Trying to continue to pull away from Breitzman, and he was able to put over a second up on Breitzman that time, back to 8 seconds. Casey Tillman has shut it down to 17 seconds now. So Tillman still giving it all he's got to try to get up there and get himself in a position to capitalize if something happens.
Yeah, absolutely he is. Just 17 seconds back from your race leader, Dan West Jr. is Casey Tillman. And look out, Dan West. Stefan O'Hare going for a ride. And I thought he was going to end up taking out the 55. It was a close call. And Dan West may need a new fire suit after that one.
And that's what I was talking about, that anything could happen to our race leaders. The 55 of West just had a moment there with Stefan O'Hare spinning around right in front of him, able to get things going again and keep it clean. But boy, Dan West Jr. definitely had a heart attack there.
It is my mistake. There is about 6 more laps to go in this event, as stupid me was thinking it was a 50-lap event and not 55. So just about 5.5 more times now around for the 55 of Dan West Jr.
I'm sure Dan West Jr. is wishing it was a 50-lap race, because that little deal with O'Hare right there probably has his heart rate up about twice than what it is already. So no doubt he was wishing it was a 50-lap race, but still got some laps to click away. And Timothy Ricketts next up in the window. 5 trucks on the lead lap right now, and it could be 4 before this is all said and done.
Absolutely it could. So again, all these drivers pretty content where they are. Only 5 trucks left on the lead lap, and that's soon to drop to 4 as the 43 about to go a lap down now as well.
Remember the heavy damage on Ricketts after the incident there where he caught the wall, and that has really slowed him down, and he's just going to pull over and let Dan West go and try to get out of his way and try to keep it as clean as he can. And West Jr. no doubt saying thank you very much. We're down to 4 trucks on the lead lap.
Four trucks on the lead lap, and Chris White would be next in line, and I think Dan West is pretty content in where he is right now and not going to try to navigate through traffic unless he absolutely has to.
West Jr. coming up on NASCAR Turn 1 now. His son Devin, shout out to Devin West. He is climbed back up into the 6th position as well after his incident in the early stages of the race. We've been so focused on Casey Tillman's charge to get back up to 3rd that Devin West, his run up to 6th from the same position, has been overshadowed almost, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sean Bright's been falling off the pace of the leaders just a little bit, but Devin West trying to gain a position on the 43 as we watch. So 43 in trouble of losing that top 5 position. Again, both of these trucks are 1 lap down, but every position matters when it comes to the points.
And West, Devin West, that is, don't forget, already does have a win on the season at Homestead, so he does have that to fall back on as far as the playoffs go. But man, oh man, he is giving it all he's got right now to get up to the 5th place. Timothy Ricketts does have quite a bit of damage on the right side of the 16 truck, but the 43 was significantly more, and it looks like Ricketts slid there, and he realizes that this is for position, as it almost looked like he was going to pull over and let West go before he realized that that was for the final spot in the top 5, and all of a sudden he just kicked it right back into hyperdrive to try to fend him off.
Yeah, so Ricketts doing a good job trying to hang on to that top 5 finish, the 43 machine, and all of these drivers doing a good job of hanging out where they are at this very moment, as Dan West Jr. is going to come around to take just 3 laps to go the next time at the stripe.
The gap between 2nd and 3rd was 6 seconds that last time by between Brightsman and Tillman. Brightsman has lost a couple of seconds to West Jr. over the last few laps. They're about the length of the backstretch chicane apart now, as Brightsman was coming out of the chicane right as Tillman entered the chicane. Actually, he entered the braking zone for the chicane, they should say. So the gap there is closing, and we're keeping an eye on Casey Tillman to try to get up there into 2nd position and give a charge to Brightsman. As Tillman coming through the front stretch chicane now, Brightsman just crossed the strike going into turn number 1. We'll see what the gap is this time by. Tillman was able to shave another second off. 5 seconds the gap. Do you think he can get there if Brightsman makes a mistake?
Al, it's going to be tough, and I think if Brightsman makes a large enough mistake, I think he can, but 2 laps to go this next time across the stripe. I think it's going to be real tough for him to get up into that 2nd position. But a podium finish here tonight, especially after the start of this race, and I'd say he's sitting pretty good.
What a comeback for Casey Tillman in the number 92, checking back on the battle for 5th spot. It's still Ricketts out in front, but Devin West is not going away. They're in the backstretch chicane right now. Ricketts, a little bit of a wider run through the chicane there that allows West to close in a little bit. Battle for 5th, the best battle on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, the battle for 5th is still on, as the 43 machine's got company back behind him, and West really hasn't gained too much on him, and the 16 machine is kind of a beaten and battered truck is Devin West, 16 Chevrolet Silverado back there, but making the best that he can with it, as he got damaged early in this race and has just been trying to hang on to where he is. So doing a good job back there, and Dan West Jr. already has taken the 2 laps to go mark. He'll get the white flag next time by across the line.
Devin West just lost all the ground he had because he slid off of turn number 4, and it sent him into the grass. And that should lock up 2nd place or 5th place, I should say, for Timothy Ricketts because of how far back he is now. As Dan West Jr. coming through NASCAR 1 and 2, going down the backstretch. What a performance by Dan West Jr. Started 6th and has led every lap. Not too often you have a stat like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I can't say it enough. How about Casey Tillman up here as well? As with the speed that he was running, the race should have been his, but suffering a penalty right at the beginning of this race, he was able to fight back all the way back up into a podium position, up into the 3rd spots, and Casey Tillman doing an awesome job tonight as well.
And we've seen that out of Tillman in the past in the iRacing Northwest Tour that runs during the winter. Tillman had a performance at Stafford Speedway, much like this one, where he just put in a lot of time to get the 92 car going the way he wanted it, and just dominated that race at Stafford earlier this year back in around December or January. So we know that when Casey Tillman puts it all to it, we know how good of a driver he is, and he can really make some noise. But Brandon Danwest Jr. has taken the white flag, and he's already through most of the infield section as he's coming now towards NASCAR Turn 1 on the final lap.
And that he is, as he comes down onto the high banks of the NASCAR Roval. The 55 machine, Danwest Jr. is showing dominance all race long, and just pure consistency from him is going to ensure that he is locked into a spot-worth victory tonight, and he makes it down through the backstretch chicane and now down into NASCAR Turn 3, back onto the high banks once again. The Northwest Truck Series has seen Danwest Jr. in victory lane many times in the past, and tonight it's going to be a road course. The 55 machine makes its way out of the tri-oval. Your winner here on the night, Danwest Jr.
He throws it down to the infield immediately. You can tell he is happy with that finish. The 55 truck coming home with the win. Brightsman brings it home second, and Casey Tillman fights his way to third. 2 seconds back of Brightsman at the line. Unbelievable performance by Casey Tillman. And he is going to park it right there and call it a day. But what an effort by Casey Tillman. It's almost an entire lap back to the final car on the lead lap, or truck I should say. Chris White, he's just now entering NASCAR Turn 1, and he will be the next truck position-wise to cross the strike. 4 trucks on the lead lap at the end of this one.
And we're going to let these guys cycle through as Danwest Jr. burns it down onto the front straightaway. We'll run through results in the post-race show, and we'll be right back with you. You're watching the Northwest Truck Series here live at LSR TV. Stay tuned. Welcome back, race fans, to LSR TV, your home for sim racing, as you're watching the Northwest Truck Series here live at LSR TV. Back here with the Clan Horse Servers post-race show. Clan Horse Servers, the official communication partner of LSR TV. And gonna run down through your finishing results here tonight. 4 trucks finishing on the lead lap, coming home with a race win. It's going to be Danwest Jr. Sean Brightsman coming home in second. Casey Tillman back there in third. A strong performance from Tillman, by the way. Chris Wright going to be your final truck on the lead lap in fourth. Timothy Rickett in fifth. Devin West going to come home in sixth. Stephen O'Hare going to be in that seventh position. Stephen Paulson in eighth. Tyler King going to be in ninth. And Bill Ross Jr. rounding out your top 10. Greg?
Coming home in the 11th spot is Steve Jennings in the 111 with Roy Grande in the second. Both those drivers 2 laps down, as was Corey Walters in the number 9. John Ottenbacher in 14th position, 3 laps down, along with Frank Harris, who rounds out the top 15. Dana Rogers in 16th. Ryan Maines, the first truck to not finish, as Dana Rogers was the final truck running on the racetrack. Ryan Maines, Jeff Stabnow, Carl Burke, Dave Kilmer round out the top 20. James Vining rounding out the field today in 21st position.
So that'll round out your fields here. Now we go into a little bit of post-race interview action, and I've caught up down here on the grid. I've caught up with your third place finisher, Casey Tillman, and Casey, you come home with a solid third place. You know, a little bit of unfortunate way to start your events. You were sitting on rails all night. How are you feeling after tonight?
Well, I mean, obviously it's kind of frustrating in a sense. Put a lot of practice in over the last couple days, and in fact, Travis Barnes and I hosted a couple practice live sessions together, and he actually built this setup for me and really worked with me on getting my line down and everything so I can be consistent. After that cup race, I was kind of embarrassed of it. So hats off to Travis for building me a killer setup on this deal. Bummer that I got that, that penalty early on, and I really, really wish I didn't have to fight back. I think I could have hopefully gave Dan a good run for his money on that one. But congrats to Dan and Sean, on the 1-2 finish.
Well, Casey, you come home with a third place finish tonight. You stayed consistent all night long. Is there anybody else that you'd like to thank for shout out to for your performance tonight?
Got to give a big shout out to Travis again for building killer setups. The last couple truck races and that, I think he's been spot on all the setups and stuff. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the season brings, and he's definitely puts a lot of time into these setups. So hats off to him. We got to say a big thank you to everybody that puts this league on, between Jeff and Sean and everybody that's involved. It's a great series to race with, a lot of fun people to race with. And then, of course, LSR TV, you guys do an awesome job broadcasting everything for us and that. So thank you guys.
Thank you for talking with us tonight, Casey. And again, huge congratulations on your podium finish. You showed solid speed all night long, and congratulations up there for third.
Thank you, guys.
I do believe Greg is caught up with second place finisher Sean Breitzman.
Yeah, and Sean Breitzman, you had a very, very good race and quite the bounce back for you after, I know the race on Monday didn't wind up the way you wanted. That has to feel really good to get a second here.
Yeah, it feels great actually to get a second here after kind of just struggling all week. So I'm happy to finish behind Dan. He was fast at the field for sure.
Well, tell us about the race, Sean, because you did a great job maintaining the gap between West Jr. through most of the race. You were hanging with him equal lap times through most of it, and once you got settled down in the second spot, getting around Jeff Stabnow there at the beginning, you really settled down and ran a very, very clean race there.
Yeah, I felt pretty solid. I saw that he was definitely gaining time on me, and I think really we kind of both struggled at times and with lap traffic and all that. So I'd reel him in a little bit, and then I'd have to let him go because I get kind of just messed up a little bit, lose the line. But Dan and Casey really, I mean, they were really the class of the field tonight. I mean, heck, it's just a heck of a job. Dan definitely had the most stable and most consistent laps probably the whole run.
Well, Sean, the Roval is in the books, and I know you're excited to get going back on some oval racing. You ready for next week when we hit Kansas, I believe?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready to hit some ovals again and hopefully have some side-by-side action, some cautions, just some different race strategies, of course, and just racing with these guys here at the Northwest Racing Series.
All right, well, second place here on the night, and Sean, we've done this quite a bit on LSR TV. We know you got the shout out, so who you got?
I just got to thank LSR TV for broadcasting and sponsoring the 46 Toyota Tundra. Got to thank Central Welding Supply, and then, of course, everybody at the Northwest Racing Series.
At second place, Sean Brightsman. Congratulations.
Thanks, Greg.
And going back down where I believe Brandon Kretz is in victory lane, where he has caught up with the race winner, Dan West Jr.
Yeah, down here in victory lane now. He's out of the race truck. Your race winner of the night here at Charlotte, Dan West Jr. And Dan, a dominating performance tonight. You stayed consistent all night long. How are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel better that we're getting out of the Roval, though. But no, it was a good race. I was able to not mess it up, if you will. I felt like I had a good setup, and it was all up to me just to not mess it up. Keep the truck on the track.
And you did just that. You did what you needed to do tonight, and kind of go through this race with us a little bit. You were kind of all out there in the world on your own.
Yeah, Sean, he does what he does, right? He's smooth, he's fast, and I just kept watching the relative and in the gap, and the thing is that like Sean was saying, the lap cars kind of get in there and they do the best they can to get out of the way. There's nothing, they didn't do anything wrong. It just makes it tough sometimes when they get in there on your entry points. And but like I say, I could see him reeling back in, and then I didn't know if he's saving. So it was interesting. I'm not a road course guy, so I was trying not to burn the tires up, trying not to use my stuff up, but I knew that I had to keep pace and get to that halfway point, if you will, and then go from there.
And he did just what you needed to do to get yourselves locked into a victory tonight. And Dan, a good performance tonight. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank or give a shout out to here for your performance?
LSR TV, Cody, Brandon, and Greg, I appreciate what you guys do. It makes it so much fun for everybody else. Effective Web Solutions and Northwest Racing. We appreciate everything they do behind the scenes. And Sean and Jeff for the practice sessions. They keep me honest, keep me humbled, and teach me a lot. So I appreciate all that. Thank you.
Awesome job. And Dan, thank you for talking with us again tonight. And race fans, that's your race winner of the night, driver the number 55, Dan West Jr. And that's about going to wrap it up. Greg, any final thoughts on tonight's race?
It's been a wild week at the Roval, an unpredictable week, but a long one at that as well. And I know all the drivers are happy that it's in the rearview mirror because they know how difficult road racing is. We're back in oval action at Kansas next week, and I cannot wait to get there.
Absolutely, and myself included in that. Excited to get back on to the ovals. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors here for the night: Sawblades.com, Clan Horde Servers, Fiend Design and Media, East Coast Motorsports Media, and of course Race on Texas. And from all of us here at LSR TV, and of course the Northwest Truck Series, from Charles Newton behind the cameras, my announcing partner Greg Rentz, and myself, Brandon Kreutz, we'd like to say good racing and good night, and we will see you next time.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.